third living beings of the 10 states of birth devour each others and so form evil karma, which will have no end. This come mainly from their passion for stealing. The same thing. No, let's see here. Just kill each other. It's understandable, right? For these two passions, right? Smart student, they ask me, okay, let's say if we eat a cow, next lifetime we be a cow. If we eat human, next lifetime we be human. What do you think? How could you resolve that? What do you think then?
No. Uh, well, if we eating a human is not a very human activity. That's much more of like a lion or a tiger or a bear activity. So I don't think we'd be reborn as a human if we want to eat them. Generally, animals in general don't eat the animal that they are.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, sometimes they do, you know, sometimes like a lion might eat baby cubs from a different lion, like a different male lion. He may come in and take over and eat the cubs, but not like a full grown. And it's usually only babies when animals do it, but it's still, yeah. But anyways, no, I don't think it can work that way.
No, here, you know, I was both people. I didn't have the kind of experience, but you know, I escaped from Vietnam to Malaysia, came by boat on the ocean for 6 days and night. I told you, right? And when they got to the camp, I heard many stories that many people die on the way to the refugee camp on the ocean, and some of them they lost their way. You see, I don't know whether you have seen some kind of small boat that hold so many people on the boat. Have you seen that?
I've seen pictures.
Right. So sometimes, you know, because in the past they didn't have the luxury to buy the proper engine for the boats, and sometimes on the ocean the engines died out, and they just let the boat drift around or wherever it drifts into, and even sometimes they don't up food and drinking, and they wait for someone to die, and they consume the dead corpse. I heard about that, and somehow I didn't witness that kind of things, but in the camp, someone say, "Oh, that person he he ate the dead corpse before, and somehow he looked weird in the way that there's no hair. I mean, that's just some kind of weird appearance in his face, or I don't know, or that's what we imagine about. But in that case, that's emergency cases, and even you know, in when you know, as human or in or any kind of animal realms, right? We need to survive. In the survival cases like that, right? Between death, life and death, they have to eat anything that they have. It's feel terrible, and of course, they not prepared to do the fishing on the ocean. They didn't bring anything. You know, for my boat, we have more than 100 people. It it's so crowded. So we sat, you know, we sat for the whole 6 days and nights because no place to lie down at the back, our back. It's so crowded. Young, old, woman, girl, and so forth. It's so crowded. And just think, you know, one day if we live together in the house so crowded, right? There's no space for us to move around. There's no place for to go to restroom. I can say that. You know, 6 day and night. And that's why it's so terrible. It's just many people they lost on the ocean, not only 6 day and night, but few days, few weeks, and even few months too. When the boat engine will die out. That's what happened. Yeah. Anyway, so again, it come back to the question the children say, if we eat human, we can become human. It's not the case. Okay. Yeah, here, you know why would I say that? So when we consume the sheep, or when consume animals, and later on, animal will be human and consume us, but this come mainly from their passion for stealing. Why is that? Why is it late to killing? Why do
Well, I
Buddha?
mean,
Yes.
yeah, it seems that animals do a lot of work with taking plants and turning them into their own their own body. So it's if we're killing an animal to take its meat, then there's an aspect of stealing there too, because the animal is never gonna like freely give
Mhm.
its life. It doesn't want to die.
And for us too, right? That's why when we consume the meat, right, we kill or steal their life in the right way, right? Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like the Mahayana approach. Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead.
Due to such causes as you owe me my life and I pay my debt, living beings are subject to birth and death for hundreds and thousands of eons. Due to such causes as you treasure my heart, I love your beauty, they continue to be tied to each other for hundreds and thousands of kalpa. Therefore, the basic cause of continuous karmic retribution are three: killing, stealing, and carnality.
Mm.
So, due to such causes, you owe me my life. You owe me my life. I don't think I understand that one. I understand the next one. I pay my debt. You owe me my life. I've heard like you owe me your life, like if you saved someone's life, but you owe me my life? What do you think they're saying there?
That's been you have to pay. Uh, uh, you have to pay. It's two way, right? Let's put this way. You owe me my life. Let's say I'm a cow. You eat me. That means you owe me my life.
Oh, okay.
I'm a cow.
Yes.
You're human. And now go back. You consume me. Okay, I pay my debt.
Yes.
Right? It's simple, right?
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, you took my life, you owe me my life. Okay.
And I pay my debt. You pay me your debt, and so forth, right?
Yeah, so then those that goes back and forth.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
So, yeah, and then due to such causes as you treasure my heart, I love your beauty, that sort of romantic attachment. So people will, continue to be tied to each other, and then, whenever there's romantic attachment, then there's going to be hurt passed back and forth too, because we're not always as sensitive to other people's concerns, and so that there can be a cycle in that too.
Yeah. So the word personality, I forgot what's its meaning now.
Yeah, carnality, my understanding of that word is it's of like having to do with living in a physical body. So carn, the root word of like carne is meat. So it's like,
I see.
yeah, flesh. So
Okay.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So here, this is one here in the Brahmana Sutra. It said that you need to recognize or view all the women as our sister and mother, right? And we need to view them. male, the men as our father and brothers. And of course, we can expand further. Anyone that we have relationship with, anyone we have interact with, we have some kind of connection, right? Probably they were our spouse before. That probably they were our parents before. That's probably they were our sibling before. That's what it's about here. In here, this book way, in the past, the men would have several wives. Not now, not in modern age, not in America, but some country around the world they still have that. What do you call that one? Is that what do you call
Polygamy.
polygamy? Yeah, or in some country, the female can have several husbands, but still rare. But my point is that sometimes the couples they love each other for a while, but they may cheat on each other because they love another one, and probably because they have some kind of past connection stronger than the one now. But of course, for the Buddhists, we need to remain faithful with our spouse now, but we still have some connection with the other, whether male or female. Right, so that's why this is the problem there. That's why we just recognize who we are in this lifetime. And I think we talk about too the problem with homosexual, right? Uh, homosexual people, right?
I don't think we've talked about the problem with that. I know that the Brahmanet Sutra makes it clear that that goes against the precepts, but I don't think we've talked about the why.
No, here I think I share my idea probably with you or some others. The reason why they somehow this lifetime the male attached to this to the other male. Probably they were couple in the past. Probably they were male and female in the past, but they carry on that energy up to now. Even they male and male, they still have that attachment. But most of the time, you see that most of the time they one dominant
Mm-hmm.
and one minor one. The one in the couples, most of the time in the couple, it's just not equal. Most of the time, either the husband lead the wife or the wife leads the husband,
Mm-hmm.
or not exactly like that, but let's say the 70%, 80%, 6%, but at least let's say in your family you may lead your wife, or your wife may lead you in a certain aspect of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my
Yeah.
point is, yeah, the reason why now the male they attached to the male because they were couple in the past, or the female um they are attached to the other female, probably they were couple before, that's why they love each other. In my view, it's just it I think it's logical, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise they would not attach each other.
It my the one thing that may add another like dimension to consider is my understanding is that within male homosexual world, it's much more accepted to have a single partner who's your main partner, but it's much more accepted to be able to step out with other partners and have relationships like brief, like flings with other people, and it's like it's considered okay. It's more likely that that's considered okay in the homosexual communities. Is like what homosexual friends have told me. So it seems like it's not just about the one person, but it's an interest generally in males too.
Yeah.
Um, which I think to kind of complicates it a little bit from it, because then if it was just a single relationship with a person, it wouldn't really explain the other.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just that particular case, right? But of course, if we look in the general case, like you say, right? Probably that person was a female before, but now somehow they were born as male, and they still carry on the energy, the feminine energy up to this lifetime. And I've seen that when I was young in Vietnam. I have one friend, somehow you can say he act like she.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is of course in our culture is the outer lie. But again, he carried on that feminine energy in the past. And somehow he got the his wrong body. You can say. Yeah, and that's why
Well,
they
yeah.
they change they change their gender.
Hmm.
In Thailand, right? They I think they pay 20 to 30,000 dollars to change your gender.
Yeah,
Mm.
here too, people will use hormones and then surgeries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's pure in the United States, right?
I don't, relative to other places, I'm not sure. I mean, there's some really high profile people who have done it, like Bruce Jenner, who's now Caitlyn Jenner. He was an Olympic athlete.
Oh,
He's
really?
um he's like a television star too, keeping up with the Kardashians.
Oh, okay.
He's probably the biggest visible person who's been transgender, but there's a lot of it in the news. There's a lot of strong feelings on both sides about it.
So probably the one wealthy enough to change their gender, right? If the poor one, yeah, they may not be, they cannot afford to change their gender, right?
If they want to like do the surgery, yeah, they'll need more money, but the hormonal treatment is pretty inexpensive. So if they want to just like for a woman to masculinize, but not have male parts, but to like for the breast to get smaller, voice to deepen, start growing hair, she can just take testosterone. For a
Really?
man to grow breasts and for his voice to like lighten, he can just start taking estrogen and then take a testosterone blocker. But he'd need a surgery to get rid of his parts.
Okay.
And that would be the expensive part.
But
And people do it.
anyway, so probably they went into the wrong person, the wrong body, for example, or what I mean. Instead of
Mhm.
male, they go to the female. Instead of female, they go into the male one. But that's why they still have the attachment to the opposite sex.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense there would be these in betweens
Mm-hmm.
where, yeah, generally people are going to be in one or two categories, but nothing is like absolute. And so that there could be these just complex, good night, sweetie. Good night. There could be these like complex series of causes that led to these kind of mixed situations for people. Makes sense.
One of my students, she female, but she dress up as the boy.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna close my door here so my daughter can go to bed easier.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, my one of my students, she female one, but she act up like a boy, and for the Vietnamese families, Vietnamese tradition, that's out the line. And even some of the parents asked me to convince them to be who they are. But I say, well, in this country, they have freedom of choice. That their body, whichever thing they want, that's their choice. We cannot do anything. We cannot say anything. That's because we have a free choice, free freedom here in this country. But of course, in the Vietnamese tradition, in the Vietnamese society, that's unacceptable. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely certain um, cultures within America, it's unacceptable as well. There's some much more conservative communities within America that feel the same way. Um, and yeah, there's like one of the big debates around is can a parent give a child gender affirming medical treatment um, or surgery when they're still a child? Because you imagine like this is one thing I think that people get kind of extreme on either end of this conversation. I think one thing that is important to point out is like, sometimes people think if they get a new car or a new house, they're going to be happy. So sometimes I think people think there's like a lot of emotional, psychological things happening, and they may come to the conclusion that, well, all of my difficulties are because I'm the wrong gender. And so once I become the right gender, then everything is going to be better. Um, and I think some things can be better, perhaps, maybe, but there seems to be a component of mental health that really needs to be addressed first before somebody makes like irreversible changes, because there's some research into it that I don't remember is clearly like to be really effective for this conversation, but it was basically supporting that idea that once you treat the emotional, psychological underlying issues, a lot of people will go on to accept their gender.
That's in like
Yeah.
Buddhism, everything starts from the mind. That's so simple. But
Yeah.
the female, we still have to deal with our own mind. As long as we accept who we are, we make peace of ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the people, they will not understand that. They would focus more on the physical aspect. They focus on the physical appearance. That's why they attach to their appearance and others. So that's why. That's why the Buddha say that if we want to change, we need to change our own mind. There's no need to change our appearance. We just change our view. Yeah. But anyway, go back to here. You treasure my heart. I love your pure beauty. Right? It's interchangeable, and also it's mutual love, mutual attraction, mutual attachment. Some
Mm-hmm.
we attach to certain people, sometimes we attach to other people, and vice versa. That's why we tie down here continuously for hundred of thousand compass. That's why we here all the times. We tie down. One lifetime we have one spouse, another lifetime we have another spouse, and so forth. We move on and on. There's no way. There's no way for us to get out. That's that type of reverse cycle. Mm, yeah, it's not easy, right? Not easy.
Oh yeah.
This is the hiding. Yeah. Okay. All right. So here, first, Punam Maitreya Yaniputra. These three evil causes succeed one another solely because of enlightened awareness, which gives rise to the perception of forms. And so see falsely mountain, rivers, and the red earth, as well as other phenomena which unfold in succession, and because of this value illusion, appear again and again as on a turning wheel. So again, because of that type of stealing, what do you call can call that one can canality, right?
Carnality.
Canality. Yeah.
Carnality.
That's why we give rise to perception of form. We attach of the form. That's why we see the forestry mountain, river, and red earth. Because we attach to the form. So the mountain, river, and red earth is the form, as well as other phenomena. That's why we have those type of illusion appear again and again. It's pure hard concept, right? When Buddha relate our killing student and canality with the attachment to the form, and the form appear as mountain, river, red earth, right? You see connection there?
Well, the three evil causes succeed one another solely because of unenlightened awareness. So yeah, because in the way in which the kind of default awareness of the world that all of us seem to have is there's self and other, there's subject and object. So the perception of form is like that's a distinction. So okay, there's form, and then then there's something that's formless,
Mm.
and thinking that those distinctions are real and true, then gives rise to, it's like an expression of ignorance, but then it also gives rise, it makes these actions possible, where, because if we didn't have a distinction between self and other, then we wouldn't kill something else, or we wouldn't steal from it, because we would, the reality would be of connection and unity. So just like we wouldn't do that to ourselves, we wouldn't do it to someone else. So I think, I think this makes sense. And if we were related to, like, if we had enlightened awareness and we saw the oneness of all things, well, then why would we crave a relationship with someone else? Like, we're already we're the same thing, so there's nothing to gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's why in Buddhist tradition, I think even in Mahayana, Theravada, and Zen tradition, it says life is illusion. If we recognize us, otherwise, like common people, life is real. Everything is real, right? The morning is real, the house is real, the car is real. When it's broken down, the car, for example, they cry.
Yeah.
When they have the pet, if the pet die, they cry. I'm actually there's one guy. He used to come to our center in Corden. One day when I think his dog died, he cried the whole day. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely know people like that. Yeah, well, it'll go on for a week or longer.
They could not let go of them. They could not understand the impermanent principle. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, yeah, please. Yeah.
The uncreated and unending. Purna Maitrayani Putra asked, if Bodhi, which is basically absolute and enlightened, is the same as the unchanging Tathagata mind, can suddenly create mountains, rivers, the great earth, and other phenomena, when will the Buddha who has attained absolute enlightenment again give rise to the worldly perception of mountains, rivers, and the great earth?
Hmm.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
So basically, and I was thinking about this today,
Mm.
where when we look at things, the distinctions that we make tend to blur, and it's very difficult to actually place where exactly the boundary is.
Mm.
So if we just said, the beginning of someone's life and the end of someone's life,
Mm.
there's always something we could go further, a cause that came before, that if it didn't happen, that person wouldn't live.
Mm.
And the end of it, well, there's all of these ripples out from someone's life, the effect they've had in their world, not to mention reincarnation,
Mm.
that, like, the from this mind of oneness, the arising of duality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, I think that's basically a question that brings the mind to a standstill, because I don't think it can be analyzed and figured out. But it's kind of like touches on this question is in the same line of thought
Mm-hmm.
of basically, you know, what's the cause for that arising of this unenlightened perception,
Mm.
and can that, like, what keeps that from happening to a Buddha?
Mm-hmm. So later on, we come across the passage. They say that the pure mind of the Buddha nature is like the gold, the pure gold. Now go back to the same question. You we dig the gold mine to get the gold, right? So the question is that when can the gold come back as dirt again?
Mhm.
It's nonsense, right? If we have
Yeah.
what do you call that one? They keep in the Federal Reserve. What do you call that one? The big
Gold bars.
bars. Okay.
Mhm.
So they purify all the elements. So 99% of gold, right? So the
Yeah.
concept is that the idea is that when can the gold come back to the earth again?
Yeah.
It's been purified already. That's the idea.
Hmm.
To be reversed. It has been purified already. So there's the Buddha nature or the Buddha. He attained absolute enlightenment. So he would not give price on anything, any worry, perception about the river and with earth. Pure mind is pure mind. Pure gold is pure gold. Yeah.
I I think the hook of the question, it's like in the suragama, it's so all, everything is the matrix of the thus come one, that all phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
And so for all phenomena being the nature of Bodhi, then it's kind of like saying all phenomena are already gold.
Mm-hmm.
And how it seems that the question is like, how can unenlightenment appear from an enlightened nature?
That
That's the like it doesn't I don't think intellectually that I don't think the question makes sense.
that's
I think because the question is asked from an unenlightened standpoint, it's not like a question that leads to enlightenment.
yeah, it's just nonsense. Baby. Yes, nonsense. Yeah. Anyway, so uh again, it's hard. Some people will say, okay, if everything come from the mind, the pure mind, so that's the whole idea, right? So the important thing is to purify the mind, to purify the goal. That's all. And in the Zen tradition, they have two way, right? The Dradu one and the Sun one. The Dradu one that you need to clean the mirror. Right? You remember that was right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you have to cleanse the mirror. When the mirror shine, you see your face. But um, the sick patient said, no, there's no mirror at all. You can recognize us. But it's hard for people. Anyway, go back here again. When it's pure gold, it's simple. There's no question asked. The pure gold cannot go back unless they melt, right? Unless they melt the pure gold together with all the minerals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, let's go back here. The Buddha said, Puna Maitrayana Yani Putra, if a man loses his way to the village by mistaking south for north, does this error come from delusion or enlightenment? Yeah. Okay. Pura Puna Maitrayani Putra replied, from neither. Why? Because since delusion has no root, how can this error come from it? Since enlightenment does not beget delusion, how can it cause him to err? Okay. So if he lost his way by mistaking the south for the north, so it comes from his delusion, from neither. Why? Because since delusion has no root, how can this error come from it? Since the lamp does not beset delusion, how can it cause him to err? So usually we say that yes, when we mistake the south for the north, that's come from a mistake from delusion, right? But now somehow he says it's neither. And for him, he go beyond delusion and enlightenment, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's all. Uh, hmm. You got that?
Yeah, it seems like a not a relative response, but more of an absolute response
That's the
of
point.
like absolutely, yeah, delusion it doesn't exist in a true sense. It's an illusion. So how could it be the source of something? But experientially, like we have the experience of okay, yeah, if we're confused, we can make a mistake, and we could agree the mistake came from our confusion.
Mhm.
But absolutely, we maybe would say, okay, well, the mistake couldn't come from the confusion because the confusion doesn't really exist.
Mhm.
So then you'd say, well, it wasn't really a mistake. If the confusion doesn't exist, then how can we say a mistake exists either? So I'm
Mm.
interested to see where how the Buddha responds
Mm. That's why
to
later on, Naruchuna, he take the middle ways is in the same way, neither delusion nor enlightenment, right?
hmm,
Naruchuna, right?
yes, yes.
Place. He focused on this type of principle a lot in the absolute principle, the absolute approach instead of duality of delusion and enlightenment.
Hmm,
That's why we decide the
yeah.
first first sutra every day. There's no delusion. There's no enlightenment. That's just the absolute mind. Because as much as we define, oh, this is delusion, is here, this is enlightenment, we get stuck with them. That's the meaning. Because they know there's no root at all. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please.
That makes sense. I've heard Zen masters, or I've read about a Zen masters talking about how it's harder to get rid of the stench of enlightenment than it is to become enlightened.
Mhm.
Because once someone experiences enlightenment, then there's the thought of, I'm enlightened. And then it's harder to address that
Mhm.
than it was for the initial like realization.
Yeah, we get
That's
stuck with that type of attachment, right? Mm.
mhm.
Yeah, please.
The Buddha asked, if this man, while erring, suddenly meets someone who shows him the right way, do you think, in spite of his mistake, he will lose his way again? You want me to keep reading?
Yeah, please.
Purnama Putra replied, no, world honored one. And
Mm.
I agree. Yeah, if someone is going the wrong way and someone comes around and tells them, then yeah, they're not gonna go the wrong way again. They're gonna know the right way to go.
Okay.
It's different when because in that analogy, the person wants to go that direction. They're not attached to the other direction. And so once they find out that that's the direction they actually want to go, they'll go that way. But like desire is a little different in
Mm-hmm.
that we
Mm-hmm.
can know the right way to go, but not go that way because of like desire being compelling.
Mm-hmm. So here we take out that context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pure mind, right? If someone shows, oh, this is the pure mind, we just recognize that. Okay. The Buddha said, Puna Maitriyan Niputra, it is the same with all Buddhas in the 10 direction. Delusion has no root, for it has no self-nature. Fundamentally, there has never been delusion, and through there is some semblance of it. When one is awakened, awake, it vanishes. For Buddhists, does not beget it. This is like a man suffering from an optical illusion. We see the flowers in the sky. If it is cute, these flowers will disappear. But if he waits for them to appear again, you call him a stupid and intelligent. Same, right? Right. So he would give really clear example, right? The one that suffer optical illusion, right? Who see the flower, like we press our eyeball, right? Somehow when we listen, we see the flower, right? Flying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Back to nature in normal way, so it's no more flower. So if we want to have them appear again, that's dumb. Yeah,
Yeah.
illusion has no root because it has no cell nature. There's no root there. Fundamentally, there has never been delusion. So when we wake up, when we awaken, so they vanish by itself naturally. Yeah, yeah, please.
Purnamatrayaniputra replied, fundamentally, space has no flowers, but due to defective sight, they are seen as being in the void. This is already a false attitude. If in addition they are required to appear again, this is mere folly. How then can that man be called stupid or intelligent? So the defective sight leading to the seeing the illusory patterns, the flower-like patterns, is the analogous to our like defective way of perceiving the world, defective awareness. So that once we see the true nature clearly, that's like the defective sight being cured, so that then we no longer are subject to those illusions because we've just seen them as illusions, so they hold no sway. And yeah, and then so for this analogy, if the man wanted to see the flowers again, it's mere folly. Can't really call him stupid or intelligent. Because it's saying it's folly tends to kind of sound like someone who engages in folly.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a lack of wisdom that leads to folly.
Mm.
But it just wouldn't happen, I think, is the point. Is that it's like that's maybe it's kind of beyond stupid in a sense that once someone they know their eyes were defective, they're cured, those things are gone, they would just never think to want to see the flowers again because it was just an illusion. They wouldn't have any more interest in them or thought of wanting them back.
Yeah, but let's say someone was born uh, with some problem with the brain system, right? They see things in different way. What to call that kind of people? The children was born with what to call uh, um,
Things in different ways. Like colorblind?
yeah, colorblind. Uh, or even sometimes, let's say someone they when they fall down, they hit their head to the ground somehow. Suddenly, the brain change in different way. They see different things.
Mm-hmm.
So probably that change in the structure of the nerve system, right? It may affect their views of life, right?
Yes.
Mm. Uh, or even in my case, you say, right? You need to scan my brain to see whether there's some say some no some is that virus, right?
It's thought to be triggered by a virus, but it's an autoimmune process.
Yeah.
MS, multiple sclerosis, where the body attacks the coverings on myelinated nerves.
Is that the blood cell or any?
I could show you through images
Yeah. Okay.
if screen share is
Mm,
on. I can.
mm.
Okay, let's go here.
So the cell, right? Is the cell attached to the nerve system by itself?
The immune system will attack these right here.
Oh, the immune system.
It'll attack the sheaths around the nerves.
Okay. That's
So,
why made the numbness, right?
yeah. Uh, Maybe there's a good image someone's made for it. Yeah, here you can see there it's kind of down. can see the cells, they make antibodies. But again, I don't think you're gonna I think the MRI is gonna come back and it's you won't have this. We're
Mm.
just kind of being cautious to see if it's an explanation.
So autoimmune system, they are the cell by itself, by themselves, right?
Yeah, the immune cells they float around in the bloodstream and the lymphatic system looking for trouble. If there's any infections, then they attack the infections.
Mm. And somehow they attack to the nerve system wrongly. Is that right?
Yeah. And interestingly, in Ayurveda, they describe autoimmunity as a disruption of cellular memory. They use that term smriti, the Sanskrit word for memory. And it's like somehow they knew that's what was happening, that it's like the body forgets itself.
Mm. Okay. How about the old people? The older we are, let's say if they are above 80, 90, even 100, they lost their memory, right? Their nerve system died out. So they could remember the past only, right? They could not remember what they talking about, what they do now.
Oh, yeah, like dementia.
Dementia, yeah.
Yeah.
How can we deal with this type of view of life? They live in the past. They don't live in the present moment.
The what I've noticed, and I think experts agree with this idea, is that we can't try to orient someone that has dementia. We can't like correct them and say, no, this is what's happening. We have to play along with whatever is least stressful to them. So, you know, if they say if say it's a woman who had, you know, who was married, and she says, "Oh, my husband's going to be here in a little bit," but her husband's dead. Well, me saying, "No, your husband's dead. He's not going to be here," that won't help her at all. But if they say, "Oh, okay, that's so fantastic. Tell me about him," because then she's going to forget in like a minute that she even said that, and then maybe say it again in a few minutes. So it's really whatever interaction is least stressful is the way. There are things, there are lifestyle changes that can help reverse the beginning of dementia, but usually the people who have dementia won't make those changes and they can't sustain them
Yeah.
unless someone else tries to force them to. But then sometimes they get really angry if you try to make them, like they want to drink a soda and you won't let them drink a soda, they're going to just get really angry. So it's a really tricky condition.
That's why. That's why. And come back to this kind of discussion. So they live in different realm. They live in the past. They don't live in present moment. What's going on with their life, right? Because that kind of problems, dementia problems. So their view is in the past. The husband's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Driving the car. Actually, it happened to one of my followers. She's in the early 90s now. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
she like to we say, I'm so busy to work now. that's that's the point. But she live in the past, not now. Yeah,
Yeah.
the way she, well, of course, for us, the way she say something make us laugh, but for her, it's normal because she know she remember she need to go to work. That's
Mm-hmm.
what she used to. That's her
Yeah.
that's her perception about her own life.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen the doctor of Jimmy Carter in the nursing home, and he's in a nursing home in Georgia. He may not still be alive, but during my training, I went to that nursing home with the doctor that was responsible for that month's rotation. And he was still going around seeing patients, he thought. He carried a clipboard and he would go around to other people in the dementia wing and like ask them questions and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they live in different world, right? For us, right? But for them, they live in, that's what they about. That's what who they are. And so
Yeah.
yeah, for us, pity for them, but for them, that's what they about. Anyway, so they live in different world. They live in different paradigms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can we say about that? is that delusion? They live in delusion, or even in politics nowadays, right? You know what happened with the actually the Fox News, right? They have to pay
Oh yeah, yeah,
more than a quarter of $1 billion, right? To
yeah. 786 million. Yeah.
pay more with all the lawsuits too, and
Oh
for
wow.
the former president, somehow they say that he could encourage them to lie more.
Oh, at now he says, just keep doing it. Just keep lying.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
they live in different world. They live
Yeah,
in paradigms, and this is in a different way. Uh, anyway,
yeah.
hmm. So, uh, let's put this way. That's why the Buddha say that as much as we lie, so there's no way for us to see a pure nature. As much as they have the habitual patterns, how could they recognize who they are? Right? It's not easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please, next one, right? Mm. Oh, is that me or you?
I think it's you. I think it's you.
The Buddha said, since you have interpreted well the non-existence of flowers in the sky, why do you still ask me about the immaterial absolute body of all Buddhas, radiant mountain rivers, and the red earth? It's like or with contains pure gold right here. Once the latter is extracted, it cannot be mixed with the ore again. It is also like the ash of burned wood, which cannot become wood again. It's the same with all Buddhas of Nirvana's enlightenment. This is one here. So he understood that, right? So the Buddha, why do you ask me about this? So the pure gold had been purified and extracted. There's no way for it to be all again, be mirror again. It's like we burn the wood and it's become ash. So how can the ash become a wood again? It's the same analogy with the Buddha that attained in Nirvana enlightenment. It's logical, but you know the why he asked it. Even he understand, but why did he ask him?
He may have been aware of other people in the assembly who has the same question.
Yeah, yeah, that's why. Usually, in Buddhist view, especially in the Maya Buddhist view, we see that like sometime another he asked some silly question, right? But out of compassion, he asked those kind of silly questions so that Buddha can reply to him as a lesson for us, the later generation. And you know I think the story about the reason why the Buddha spoke this sutra, right? When he was what do you call? He was
He's
he
being seduced.
get the spell, right? He got the
Mm-hmm.
spell from the girls, right? And that's why the Buddha admit the illusory Buddhas who spoke the suragama mantra to bring him back. So again, in our views, um, mm, Ananda he did this type of we can say silly things as an example for us to learn and as the way uh, that the Buddha will address this type of teaching for us too. So that's our compassion. He act that way, not that because he did in a silly way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, yeah, please, yeah.
The unhindered intermingling of nomenon and phenomenon. Purnamatrayani Putra, you now ask about the elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, which fundamentally intermingle without hindrance in the Dharma realm. You are in doubt about why the elements of water and fire do not destroy each other, and how the elements of space and earth can contain each other.
Mm.
Purnamatrayani Putra, take for instance space, which differs greatly from all forms, but which does not prevent them from manifesting in it. Why? Because space is radiant in the sun and dark when the sky is cloudy. It moves with the wind, is bright in a clear sky, hazy in a mist, obscure in a dust storm, and is reflected when above clear water. Do you think that these transient forms in different places are created by these conditions, or that they come from space? If they come from these conditions, then when the sun shines, there is sunlight, and all the worlds in the 10 directions should be identical with the sun. Then why is the sun seen in the sky? If space shines, it should shine upon itself. Why then at night, or when there are clouds and fog, is there no light? Light, therefore, is neither the same nor different from the sun and space.
That's very long. You got now?
Yeah, when I'm reading these, I'm always recoursing to kind of my scientific understanding too. But frequently these is on like another level of, because it's talking about the mind as well, not taking, because like science, like within science we're thinking, okay, this physical matter is kind of real and distinct and separate from ourself. But then in the ultimate reality is that that's not the case, that the separation is illusory, and that if nothing is fixed, I mean, even these elements of earth, water, fire, and air, they can't have any true self to them, that they also have to be kind of appearances. So that the idea of them mixing in the Dharma realm and the kind of the true nature of things and like that level of nomenon, to me that makes sense. That seems to be because it's just we relate to their kind of how we perceive them phenomenally, but on that level of nomenon, that the reality, there's no difficulty in them intermingling.
It's a natural, right? It's natural way of life, right? They intertwine with each other, right? We cannot separate them.
Like with water, for instance. I mean, if we take water through, if we break a bond of water, it releases massive amounts of energy, which you could say, well, that's an expression of the fire element. And so within water, there's a lot, or if you want to make water, like that also releases, like, so if you're gonna create water, you need a lot of energy. But in hydrogen engines, their waste product is water, so they have hydrogen combines with oxygen, and it's really exothermic, and that's what the energy is captured to power the engine. So you definitely see water and fire being very related in that sense. And it's thought that like most of the water in our universe is created by supernovas, stars exploding and slamming oxygen into hydrogen. So
yeah, and even the sun, they say sunlight, right? It's not they neither from they intertwine, right? The sun and the space, right? The sun represent the heat, right? The space represent the air, right? So they intertwine with each other. This is not much different, but before us, because of our, you can say, the illusion, we separate. Oh, here's the water, here's the fire, and so forth. Okay, so it's been interesting, right?
yeah,
Interesting. So,
it's very interesting.